Namaste, my beautiful queens, my beautiful kings. You know, it's very late already now, but I must read you several pages of this book because not all of you have this book. Some of you don't have it with you now. I must read you several pages so you simply understand that those who left physical realm, those we loved, because all of us have lost somebody. All of us have those who had been with us and who left. It could be different people for all of you. For me, the most terrifying year was 2014. It was a strange thing that that same year I was put together with my twin flame. I don't know how I handled it all, but it was a year when people I knew since childhood who were my family were leaving one after the other. It was my brother, then it was my brother's wife, it was my aunt, it was my two uncles, all within 1 year, and it was all blurry. And many people, I am lucky with my gift that because I can see and sense the spirits, but still it was very hard. But for those of you who still have that pain and grief inside, for those of you who might know somebody who still have that grief, please get them. Please do the best thing you can do for people who can't cope with someone leaving the physical realm. They think they lost them forever. Destiny of Souls by Michael Newton. It's a second book. I will just read you several pages describing how the spirits, they try to comfort us through different methods, through their energy, through the familiar objects, through the dreams, through the people, through children. I will just read to you several pages. So some of you who still have that grief inside, you will know and understand that death doesn't end absolutely nothing. It simply doesn't change anything as well. You see, the memory of your each life, it stays with your very essence. You're not going to forget. You're not going to change your very essence. What makes you who you are is not that. This is your clothes. This is your physical clothes. So let me just read you how the spirits. I will leave all the preview apart and just read you the case by case, how the spirits reach out to those who are still in here to comfort them, how the ones who are gone from physical reach out to us still in physical to comfort us. I hope you like my cracking fire. I have this fireplace, 8 hours fireplace. I love the sound of two things, no, three things. It's the fireplace. I still dream to have a real fireplace somewhere in my life in the house. The sound of the rain. I love rain, and the sound of the ocean. So let me just go ahead and read it. Case number 5. So doctor and subject. Subject is the client who he puts under the deep hypnosis, and they tell him everything they went through. My subject in this case has just died of pneumonia in New York City in 1935. She was a young woman in her early 30s who came to New York after growing up in a small Midwestern town. Sylvia's death was sudden, and she wanted to provide some comfort to her widowed mother. Doctor, do you leave immediately for the spirit world after death? Subject, no, I do not. I must say goodbye to my mother, so I want to stay around Earth for a while until she gets the news. Doctor, is there anyone else you care to see before going to your mother? S. With hesitation, then in a husky voice. Yes, I have an old boyfriend. His name is Phil. I go to his house first. Doctor, I see. Were you in love with Phil? Subject. Yes, but we never married. I just want to touch him once more. Oh, it's gonna be me. I don't really make contact with him because he is sound asleep and not dreaming. I can't stay long because I want to reach my mother before she hears the news about my death. Doctor, aren't you being a little too rush with Phil? Why don't you wait for a proper dream cycle and leave the message? This is about spirits giving a message through dreams. Let me just keep on reading. Subject. Phil hasn't been part of my life for many years. I gave myself to him when we were both very young. He hardly thinks of me anymore, and, well, to pick up on me through a dream, he could miss the message anyway. My leaving traces of my energy is enough for now because he and me will be together again in the spirit world. Doctor, after leaving Phil, do you go to your mother? Yes, I begin with more conventional thought communication while she is awake, but I am getting nowhere. She is so sad. My mother's grief at not being at my bedside is overpowering her. Doctor, what methods have you tried so far? Subject, I project my thoughts with an orange-yellow light, like the flame of a candle, and place my light around her head, sending loving thoughts. I am not effective. She does not realize I am with her. I am going for a dream. Doctor, all right, Sylvia, take me through this slowly. Please start by telling me if you pick out one of your mother's dream or if you can create one of your own. Subject, I do not create dreams well yet. It is much easier for me to take, look, it's raining outside. An hour ago I came outside, looked at the sky, and I said, I want rain. Here you go, there is rain. I don't create dreams well yet. It is much easier for me to take one of hers so I can enter the dream to affect a more natural contact and then participate. I want her to know it is clearly me in a dream. Doctor, fine. Now take me through this process with you. Subject, the first couple of dreams are unsuitable. One is a model of absurdity, another is a past life fragment, but without me in it. Finally, she has a dream where she is walking alone in the fields around my house. You should know she has no grief in this dream. I am not dead yet, Doctor. What good is this dream, Sylvia, if you are not in it? Subject, laughing at me. Listen, aren't you seeing? I am going to smoothly place myself in her dream. Doctor, you can alter the sequence of the dream to include yourself? Subject, sure. I enter the dream from the other end of the field by matching my energy patterns to my mother's thoughts. I project an image of myself as I was the last time she saw me. I come slowly across the field to her to let her get used to my presence. I wave and smile and then come to her. We hug each other, and now I send waves of rejuvenating energy into her sleeping body. Doctor, And what will this do for your mother? Subject. The picture is raised to a higher level of consciousness for my mother. I want to ensure the dream will stay with her after she wakes up. Doctor, how can you be sure she won't think this is all a projection of her desire for you and discount the dream as not being real? Subject. The influence of a vivid dream like this is very great. When my mother wakes up, her mind has a vivid impression of this landscape with me and suspects I am with her. In time, the memory is so real, she is sure of it. Doctor. Sylvia, does the image of the dream move from unconscious to a conscious reality because of your energy transfer? Subject. Yes, it is a filtering process where I continue to send waves of energy into her over the next few days until she begins to accept my passing. I want her to believe I am still alive, I am still here, I'm still part of her and always will be. Turning back to Phil's sleep state, it was evident Sylvia did not intend to stay long to manifest her feelings within his unconscious mind. Dreams do not appear to occur in the deep delta stages of brain wave activity, where there is no rapid eye movement, REM sleep, also known as paradoxical sleep, is a much lighter and therefore more active dream state occurring mostly in the early and late stages of sleep. In my next case, the dreamer will be reached between dreams, presumably because he is still in a REM sleep. The dream waver souls I have come in contact with all engaged in dream implanting with two prominent differences. Number one, dream alteration. This is, I am reading you how the way, because he described several ways of the spirit reaching out for still living in physical to comfort them. About 20 pages before, it was the spirits who were reaching straight with their energy to the ones who are still here. So with their energy they would make them feel the presence, still presence. Also there were description of a man who used his ring because his wife, widow, she could not stop crying and could not stop grieving, so it was she could not be receptive for his energy because of the grief. When there are a lot of grief and pain, then a soul with the energy can't reach through the living in physical. So he used his ring. It's described there in this book as well. So he put the thoughts, he knew where his ring, he left his ring in a certain drawer, and then while she was sitting at the fireplace thinking of him and crying, he put a thought into her head to go to a particular cabinet to pull out the particular drawer, and there she found his ring, which he used to wear, which she thought was gone somewhere. And when she found that ring, he was able to make her feel that he's still alive, he still exists, and he's still with her. So through object, he described the previous chapter, he described how spirits reach out through objects. Also, one of the stories here, it was a woman who lost her husband to cancer, and they had this old record player, which she was sitting in a group of women in the room, and one of the women, she read this book, and the grieving widow said, so why doesn't my husband do something to make me feel that he is all right, to make me feel his presence? And this old record player suddenly turns on and starts playing the song. And everyone was in shock. It was over 15 people in the room because, as the widow said, that record player wasn't touched for 2 years. No one touched him. So the souls can reach, if they cannot reach straight to us with their energy, then they use different objects. What I now read to you was the spirits which are using the dreams, because they couldn't reach out through objects or straight through their energy. So they are more advanced souls that they can use their energy to get into your dreams and see you in a dream that they are all right. So I'm going to read another one, and then probably this time is going to be up. Dream alteration. Here, a skillful discarnate enters the mind of a sleeper and partially alters an existing dream already in progress. This technique I would call one of oh my God, this word, some of this technique I would call one of anyway, where spirits place themselves as actors between the line of an unfolding play, so the dreamer is not aware of script tampering with the sequence. This is what Sylvia was doing with her mother. She was waiting for the right sort of ongoing dream to enter and initiate a smooth feed. As difficult as this approach seemed, it is evident to me the second procedure is more complex. Dream origination. In these cases, the soul must create and fully implant a new dream from scratch and weave the tapestry of these images into a meaningful presentation to suit their purpose. Creating or altering scenes in the mind of a dreamer is intended to convey a message. I see as this an act of service and love. In the dream, implantation is not performed skillfully to make the dream meaningful. The sleeper moves on and wakes up in the morning remembering only disjoint fragments or nothing at all about the dream. To illustrate the therapeutical use of dream origination, I will cite the case of level 4 subject whose name was Bud in his last life. Bud was killed in a 1942 battle during World War II. The case involves a dreamer called Walt, who was Bud's surviving brother. Bud is adept at dream weaving, so after his battlefield death, he returned home to the spirit world and made preparations for an effective methods to comfort his brother Walt. This is one of those cases that gave me greater perspective of the subtle interrogation method dreamweaver souls are able to use with sleeping people. I will not read you this case because it's rather long, but also he creates, this is already more advanced soul, so he creates a dream involving physical objects. So in a dream he tells his brother that I am always with you, I love you, and to prove it, you remember when we were little you were playing softball with your friends. Then when you go home, that softball I hid in a barn. So when his brother actually, this dream was very vivid. So when brother actually goes home, he goes into the barn and he does find that soft ball, and he realizes that his brother wasn't killed in a battlefield, that he's still there, that he's still with him, just from the spiritual world. So in this case, it was the physical object involved. I want to read you another types of through children. This is a method comforting through children and through other people. This is a case 7. When souls have difficulty reaching the minds of a troubled adult, they might resort to using children as conduits for their messages. Children are more receptive to spirits because they have not been conditioned to doubt and resist the supernatural. Frequently, the young person chosen as a conduit is a family member of the departed. This situation is helpful to the spirit who is trying to reach a surviving relative, especially in the same household. The next case is that of a man who died of a heart attack in his backyard at age 42. Case 7. What do you do to comfort your wife at the moment of death? Subject: at first I tried to hug Irene with my energy, but I don't have the hang of it yet. Subject is a level 2. I can relate to her sorrow, but nothing I'm doing is working. I am worried because I don't want to leave without saying goodbye. Doctor, just relax now and move slowly forward. I want you to explain to me how you work through this dilemma. Subject: I soon realized that I ought to be able to console Irene a little by reaching her through Sarah, our 10-year-old daughter. Doctor, why do you think Sarah might be receptive to you? Subject: my daughter and I have a special bond. She also has great sorrow over my passing, but much of this is mixed with fear over what happened to me so suddenly. Sarah doesn't comprehend it all yet. There are too many neighbors crowding around trying to sustain my wife. No one is paying much attention to Sarah sitting alone in the bedroom. Doctor, do you look upon this as an opportunity? Subject: yes, I do. In fact, Sarah senses I am still alive, and so she's more open to accepting my vibrations as I move into the bedroom. Doctor: good. What happens next between you and your daughter? Subject takes a deep breath. I've got it. Sarah is holding a set of her mother's knitting needles. I send worms through them into her hands, and she feels this right away. Then I use the needles as a springboard to reach her spine at the base of the neck and work around to her chin. Subject stops and begins laughing. What is making you happy? Subject: Sarah is giggling because I am tickling her chin like I did before she went to sleep every night. Doctor: now what do you do? Subject: the crowd is breaking up and leaving because I have been taken out to the street and placed into the ambulance. Irene comes along in the bedroom to get ready for a neighbor who will drive her to the hospital. She also wants to check on our daughter. Sarah looks up at my wife and says, Mommy, you don't have to leave nowhere. Daddy's here with me. I know 'cause I can feel him tickling my chin. Doctor: and then what does your wife do? Subject: Irene is tearful but not crying as hard as before because she doesn't want to scare Sarah. So she hugs our daughter. Irene doesn't want to indulge in what she believes to be Sarah's fantasy about your being with her. Subject: not yet, but I am ready for Irene now. As soon as my wife holds our daughter, I jump and the gap between them, sending energy flowing over both. Irene feels me too, although not as much as Sarah. They sit down on the bed and hold on to each other with their eyes closed. For a while, all three of us are alone together. Doctor: do you feel you have accomplished what you set out to do on this day? Subject: yes, it's enough. It's time for me to leave and pull back away from them and float out of the house. Then I am high over the countryside and I am into the sky. Soon I move into bright light where my guides come to meet me. Now another case here. The next case, he's describing, it's rather long. He's describing a familiar setting. So a wife, she has a husband who is an engineer and who has a certain mindset that he absolutely denies any supernatural things, absolutely denies. The only thing, she finds a way to reach out to him because she loves white roses, specifically white roses. So she breaks through to him by setting the events when the white roses bushes are delivered finally to her husband, and she just kind of organizes, if we can say so, things together. So he finally breaks through his very engineer mind and makes him finally realize and feel that she is not gone, that she is there with him. So she did it through white roses. Another beautiful case here, when case by stranger messages. This one is amazing. If I have time, do I have enough time to read it for you girls? If the video cuts suddenly, I am very sorry. Strangers as messengers, case 9. Derek was a man in his 60s who came to see me from Canada to evaluate his life and try and resolve his greatest sadness. When he was a young man, he lost his beautiful 4-year-old daughter, Julia. Her death was sudden, unexpected, and so devastating that he and his wife decided to have no more children. I placed Derek in deep hypnosis and took him to a scene following his last life where he appeared in front of his counsel. We then discovered that one of his major current life lessons was learning to cope with tragedy. Derek had been deficient in this area during his past 2 lives by falling apart and making life much more difficult for family survivors who depended upon him. He is doing much better in this current life. What was especially interesting for me about this case was a single incident that happened to Derek some 20 years after Julia's death. Derek had recently lost his wife to cancer and was in mourning. One day, feeling very despondent, he walked to a nearby amusement park. After a while, he sat down on a bench near a carousel. Listening to the music, Derek watched the children happily going around in circles on colorful wooden animals. He saw from a distance one little girl who looked like Julia, his deceased daughter, and tears flooded his eyes. Just then a young woman of about 20 appeared and asked if she could sit down next to him. It was a warm day. She was dressed in white muslin, holding a cold drink in her hand. Derek nodded but said nothing while the woman enjoyed her drink, and talked about growing up in England and coming to Canada because she somehow was particularly attracted to Vancouver. She introduced herself as Heather, and Derek noticed a glow of sunlight around her that gave the young woman a shining angelic quality. Time seemed to be suspended for Derek as the conversation turned to family and what Heather was going to do with her new life in Canada. Derek found himself talking to her as a father. And the more they conversed, the more he felt he knew her. Finally, Heather stood up and placed her hand tenderly on Derek's shoulder. She smiled at him and said, "I know you are worried about me. Please do not be. I am all right, and it is going to be a wonderful life. We will see each other again. I am sure. I know it." Derek told me that as Heather walked away and gave him a final wave, he saw his daughter and felt at peace. During our session, Derek recognized that girl, the reincarnated soul of Julia, had come to him and provided the assurance that he had not really lost her. When we suffer the absence of people we love, they may come to us in mysterious way, often when our minds are detached in a shallow alpha state. Take these moments as messages from the other side and allow them to bring sustenance to you. You can read the rest of it in Destiny of Souls. I wanted really to share it with you, my queens, and I hope for some of you it was helpful. Namaste.